Here's a question that will make you uncomfortable, and I want you to sit with it. How many versions of yourself have you planned to become and never did? Not because you weren't smart enough, not because the opportunity never came, but because somewhere between the idea and the execution, you stopped. You waited. You told yourself you'd get to it. And somehow, you never did. If that hits close to home, keep watching. Because what I'm about to say is going to change how you see everything. There's a gap that exists in almost every person's life. A gap between who they are and who they keep saying they're going to be. And most people spend their entire lives trying to close that gap with the wrong tool. They read more books. They watch more videos. They attend more seminars. They collect more information. As if one more piece of knowledge is the thing standing between them and the life they want. But here's what I've come to understand. The gap isn't a knowledge problem. It never was. The gap is an execution problem. And execution only has one currency: action. Not planned action. Not intended action. Not I'll start Monday action. Kind of action that happens today. Now. In the uncomfortable, imperfect, unready moment you're currently living in. Because your life does not shift when you understand something new. Your life shifts when you do something new. Understanding is the map. Action is the vehicle. And a map without a vehicle will never take you anywhere. Think about the last 12 months of your life. Not the highlights. The honest version. The goals you set in January. Habits you promised yourself. The projects you were definitely going to start this time. Where are they now? For most people, the answer is uncomfortable. Not because they got lazy. Not because life got too hard. But because they confused preparation with progress. They confused learning with doing. They confused planning with building. And here's what that confusion costs you. Not just goals. It costs you belief in yourself. Every time you set an intention and don't follow through, a small voice in the back of your mind gets a little louder. The voice that says, you always do this. The voice that says, you'll probably quit again. The voice that, if you're honest, you've started believing. That voice isn't truth. But it is data. And the only way to silence it isn't with more motivation. It's with evidence, proof, built through consistent action, that you are someone who actually follows through. Now let's talk about the thing that's quietly stealing your future. And it's not what most people think. It's not failure. Failure teaches you something. Failure at least means you moved. The real thief is delay. The slow, comfortable, completely reasonable sounding habit of postponing. I'll start when things calm down. I'll begin once I've done more research. I just need to feel ready first. Here's the brutal truth about readiness. It is not a feeling that ready before action. It is a feeling that gets built through action. You don't feel ready and then begin. You begin, and readiness starts to follow. Every single person you admire, the ones who built the business, the body, the career, the life, they started before they were ready. They started uncertain, underprepared, and honestly, a little afraid. They just refused to let that stop them. And that refusal, repeated day after day, is what you're actually admiring when you look at their results. You're not admiring their talent. You're admiring the version of discipline that kept them moving when everything in them wanted to stop. Let me give you a way to think about this that changed everything for me. Imagine two people. Same starting point. Same goals. Same goals. Same circumstance. Same person A moves when they feel like it. Motivated on Monday, skips Tuesday, tries again Thursday, disappears by the weekend. Their effort comes in waves. Intense for a while, then gone. Person B isn't always inspired, isn't always energized. And mornings they genuinely don't want to get up. But they made a decision. And they treat that decision the same way they treat a commitment to someone they deeply respect. They show up. Every day. Not perfectly. Not always enthusiastically. Just consistently. 6 months later, those two people are unrecognizable from each other. Not because person B was more gifted. Because consistency compounds in ways that intensity never could. What you do every single day matters infinitely more than what you do occasionally with great effort. Here's something nobody talks about enough. The relationship between action and identity. Most people try to change their behavior through willpower. They white-knuckle their way through habits, fighting themselves every step, burning out within weeks, and then concluding they're just not disciplined people. But that's not how lasting change works. Lasting change happens when your behavior starts to reshape how you see yourself. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, something happens beneath the surface. Your brain updates its picture of who you are. One workout becomes, I'm someone who takes care of themselves. One focused work session becomes, I'm someone who follows through. One early morning becomes, I'm someone who takes the story. Someone who takes the story. You don't have to motivate yourself to do things that are simply who you are. The goal isn't to build more willpower. The goal is to build a new self-image, one that makes discipline feel less like effort and more like expression. That shift starts with one decision, made today, followed through on tomorrow, and the day after that. I want to address something honestly, because I think most motivational content skips over it. You are going to have days where none of this feels possible. Days where the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels enormous. Days where the progress feels invisible and the effort feels pointless. Those days aren't signs you're failing. They're part of the architecture of growth. Think about how a muscle actually gets stronger. It doesn't get stronger during the workout. It gets stronger during the recovery. After the breakdown, in the quiet space where the body rebuilds itself tougher than before. Your character works the same way. The hard days, the days where you push through without any reward in sight, those aren't obstacles to your growth. They're the actual mechanism of it. People who understand this don't run from resistance. They recognize it as the signal that something real is being built. So on the days where showing up feels hardest, those are the exact days that matter most. Now I want to talk about something that most people completely underestimate, and it's costing them everything. Your environment. Not your talent. Not your intelligence. Not even your work ethic. Your environment. Here's what I mean. Put a plant in a room with no sunlight, no water, no nutrients. And it doesn't matter how strong the seed was. It won't grow. And we look at that plant and think something is wrong with it. But nothing is wrong with the plant. Something is wrong with the conditions. People are exactly the same. You can have the right mindset, the right goals, the right knowledge, and still make almost no progress because the environment around you is quietly working against everything you're trying to build. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not the ones you admire from a distance, the ones who are physically present in your daily life, the ones you eat with, talk to, spend your evenings with. Are they building something? Are they disciplined? Do they challenge you, push you, hold you to a higher standard? Or are they comfortable? Comfortable with average? Comfortable with settling? Comfortable with exactly the life you're trying to escape? Because here's what happens when you surround yourself with people who aren't going anywhere. Their ceiling becomes your ceiling, not through any deliberate sabotage, just through the slow, invisible pressure of normalcy. When nobody around you is pushing, rest starts to feel like the only reasonable option. When nobody around you is growing, staying still starts to feel responsible. And the most dangerous part, you don't even notice it happening. Because comfort is the one thing that never announces itself as a problem. So beyond the people, look at what you consume, what you watch, what you scroll through every night before you sleep, what you listen to when you're driving, cooking, working out. Every single one of those inputs is a vote. A vote for a certain kind of thinking, a certain kind of identity, a certain kind of identity, a certain kind of future. If you spend 3 hours a day absorbing content that tells you the world is unfair, that the system is rigged, people like you don't make it, your brain will believe that. Not because you chose to believe it, because repetition bypasses choice. And if you spend those same 3 hours absorbing content that shows you what's possible, that challenges your thinking, forces you to raise your own standard, your brain will believe that too. You don't just become what you repeatedly do. You become what you repeatedly consume. Audit your environment like your future depends on it. Because it does. Let's talk about something that has quietly destroyed more potential than almost any other force in human history. Fear of failure. Not failure itself. The fear of it. Because here's what most people don't understand about failure. It is not the opposite of success. It is the path to it. Every person who has ever built anything meaningful has failed at it first. Multiple times. Often publicly. Often embarrassingly. But they reframed what failure meant. To most people, failure means, I tried and it didn't work. And that means something is wrong with me. That means I'm not good enough. That means I should stop before I embarrass myself further. But to the people who eventually win, failure means something completely different. It means, I gathered information. I found out what doesn't work. I got closer to understanding what will. That reframe isn't just positive thinking. It's a fundamentally more accurate way to understand how progress actually happens. Thomas Edison didn't accidentally discover the light bulb after 1,000 failures. He systematically eliminated 1,000 things that didn't work. And each elimination was progress, not failure. The result, the working bulb, was the natural conclusion of that process. Your life works the same way. Every failed attempt is not a dead end. It's a data point. It's the process working exactly as it's supposed to. But here's the trap most people fall into. They take one failed attempt as evidence that they shouldn't try again. They use the failure as permission to stop. And in doing so, they never give themselves enough attempts for the process to complete. The people who seem to succeed easily aren't succeeding on their first try. They're just willing to keep going long enough to find the attempt that works. And they've trained themselves to look at every failed attempt not with shame, but with curiosity. What did I learn? Not why am I so bad at this? That one shift in question changes everything. So the next time you try something and it doesn't work, don't run from it. Don't bury it. Sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. And then try again with that new information, slightly better than before. Because the only real failure is the one that makes you stop. Everything else is just the process. Now let's talk about time. And I want to be direct about this, because most people treat time as though it's renewable. It isn't. Right now, in this moment, you have a certain number of days left. You don't know the number. None of us do. But whatever that number is, it is finite. It is counting down. And every single day that passes is a day you cannot get back, reclaim, or spend differently. That's not meant to frighten you. It's meant to wake you up. Because the most dangerous form of procrastination isn't the obvious kind. It's not the person sitting on the couch doing nothing. That person at least knows they're doing nothing. The most dangerous form of procrastination is the person who is busy, genuinely busy, but not busy with the things that actually matter to them. The person who fills every hour of every day with tasks, responsibilities, obligations, other people's priorities, and goes to bed each night exhausted, quietly aware that they didn't move an inch toward the life they actually want. Business and progress are not the same thing. You can be exhausted and going nowhere. And the world will actually congratulate you for it, because being busy looks like productivity from the outside. But you know the difference. At 11 o'clock at night, when the house is quiet, and there's nothing left to distract you, you know whether today was a day you built something, or a day you just got through, or a day you just got through. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself, not once, but every single morning before the day takes over. What is the one thing that, if I did it today and nothing else, would make today genuinely count? Not the most urgent thing. Not the thing screaming loudest for your attention. The thing that actually matters. The thing that connects to the person you're trying to become. Because urgent and important are not the same thing. And most people spend their entire lives responding to urgent things while the important things quietly wait, year after year, until the window for them closes. Don't let that happen to you. Time is the one resource that cannot be earned back, borrowed, or replaced. Spend it like it means something. Because it does. I want to tell you about a pattern I've noticed in people who actually transform their lives. Not the ones who talk about it, not the ones who post about it, but the ones who actually do it. They all share one thing in common. They treat the night before like a preparation ritual, not in a complicated way. Not in a way that requires a 5-step routine or a $200 planner. They simply decide, the night before, who they're going to be tomorrow. Not what they're going to do, who they're going to be. Because here's what happens when you walk into a morning without that decision already made. The morning makes the decision for you. The alarm goes off and comfort negotiates. The phone lights up and distraction wins. The coffee brews and another hour disappears and another hour disappears into nothing. But when you go to sleep having already decided, tomorrow, I am someone who gets up when the alarm goes off. Tomorrow, I am someone who puts in the first hour before anyone else needs anything from me. Tomorrow, I am someone who doesn't negotiate with their old habits. You wake up with an entirely different energy. Not motivated, not inspired, decided. And decided is more powerful than motivated. Because motivation is weather. It changes. But a decision, a real decision made with clarity and intention. The most successful people I've ever studied or observed don't have better mornings because they found a better routine. They have better mornings because they made a better decision the night before. So tonight, before you sleep, make the decision. Write it down if you have to. Tell it to someone if that helps. But make it. Because the version of you that shows up tomorrow is being built right now, in the choices you make before you close your eyes. Let's talk about self-sabotage. Because this one is the conversation almost nobody wants to have. And it might be the most important one in this entire video. Self-sabotage is not dramatic. It doesn't look like someone deliberately destroying their own life. It looks ordinary. It looks like procrastination. It looks like distraction. It looks like suddenly finding a dozen other things to do the moment you sit down to work on the thing that actually matters. And here's why it happens. And this is the part that most people miss. Your brain is not trying to hurt you when it sabotages your progress. It's trying to protect you. Protect you from what? From the discomfort of trying and failing. From the risk of being seen and judged. From the vulnerability of actually caring about something and having it not work out. Because as long as you never fully try, you never fully fail. And as long as you never fully fail, you never have to confront the question that terrifies most people more than any other. What if I gave everything I had and it still wasn't enough? That question is what drives most self-sabotage. The unconscious choice to protect yourself from a devastating answer by never asking the question in the first place. But here's what I need you to understand. That protection comes at an enormous cost. The cost of never knowing what you're actually capable of. Cost of living with a story. I could have done it if I'd really tried. That you tell yourself to feel better, but that quietly hollows you out over years. Cost of looking back one day and realizing that the thing you were protecting yourself from, the pain of trying and failing, would have hurt far less than the pain of never having tried and never having tried at all. Regret is heavier than failure. Always. So the next time you notice yourself doing everything except the thing you're supposed to be doing, stop. Don't judge yourself. Don't spiral into shame. Just recognize it for what it is. Your brain trying to keep you safe. And then remind yourself, safe isn't the goal. Growth is. And growth requires risk. The risk of trying, the risk of failing, the risk of being seen in the middle of something that isn't finished yet and might not work. Take the risk. Every time. Because the regret of not trying will outlast the sting of any failure by decades. I want to talk about the compound effect. And I mean really talk about it. Not just mention it and move on. Because most people hear this concept and nod, and then go back to doing exactly what they were doing before. Here's why the compound effect is real, and why most people never experience it. Every action you take has a return. Not just the action itself. The action plus the habit it reinforces, plus the identity it builds, plus the next action it makes more likely. When you work out today, you don't just get today's workout. You get the slightly stronger body, plus the evidence that you're someone who works out, plus the slightly lower resistance you'll feel tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, plus the marginal improvement in energy that makes the next workout slightly better than this one. Compounding isn't just about the output. It's about what each action does to the person who took it. And here's where most people lose the plot. They want to see the compound effect working, but they quit before it becomes visible. Because in the early stages, the compound effect is invisible. Completely invisible. You exercise for 2 weeks, and your body looks exactly the same. You read for a month, and you don't feel dramatically smarter. You practice a skill for 30 days, and you still feel like a beginner. And so people stop right before the curve bends. Because the compound effect doesn't look like a straight line going up. It looks like a flat line, flat, 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 and then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, a sharp curve upward. People who experience that curve are not the ones who worked harder than everyone else in those first weeks. They're the ones who stayed when the line was still flat. When it felt like nothing was happening. When every rational piece of evidence suggested they should probably stop. They trusted the math when the results weren't showing up. And eventually the results showed up anyway. Because they always do when the inputs are right and the timeline is long enough. So the question isn't whether the compound effect works. It does. Always. Without exception. Question is whether you're going to stay in the game long enough to experience it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Stay in the game long enough. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What does your average Tuesday look like? not your best day. Not the day when everything goes perfectly and you're fired up and productive and feeling unstoppable. Your average Tuesday. Ordinary. Nothing special. Middle of the week Tuesday. Because that day, that unremarkable, forgettable Tuesday, is actually the most important day in your life. Not because anything special happens on it, but because what you do on ordinary days is what creates your extraordinary life. The person who exercises on the days they feel great and skip on the days they don't will always be beaten by the person who exercises on both. Not because the second person is more talented, because they've understood that their future is built in the boring days, not the exciting ones. Your peaks don't define you. Your floor does. Not what you do at your best, what you do at your baseline. The version of effort you show up with when there's nothing special to motivate you, nothing urgent pushing you, nothing extraordinary to rise to. That floor, that baseline, is what actually determines where you end up. So instead of asking, how do I have more great days? Ask, how do I raise my floor? Because a higher floor means that even your worst days are producing something, and a life where even your worst days are building something is a life that will look extraordinary in 10 years. Let's talk about mental toughness. Because I think this concept gets misunderstood in a way that actually makes people less tough, not more. Toughness is not about never feeling fear. It's not about never feeling doubt. It's not about waking up every morning feeling invincible and walking through the world without ever being shaken. Those people don't exist. Toughness is something far simpler and far more achievable than that. It is the practiced ability to continue despite the presence of fear, doubt, discomfort, and resistance. Not the absence of those things, the continuation despite them. And like any other skill, it's built through repetition. Every time you do the hard thing when you don't want to, you make it slightly easier to do the hard thing next time. Every time you choose discomfort over convenience, the discomfort becomes a little more familiar, a little less frightening, a little easier to move through. First time you wake up early when you don't wanna, it's agony. The alarm feels like an assault. Every cell in your body is screaming to go back to sleep, and you get up anyway. It's miserable. The 10th time, it's hard. 50th time, it's just what you do. Not because mornings got easier, because you got tougher. And that toughness transfers. Discipline you build in the gym shows up at your desk. The resilience you develop in your work shows up in your relationships. Commitment you practice in one area of your life bleeds into all the other areas. Because it's not really about the gym or the desk or any specific domain. It's about who you're becoming through the practice of choosing hard over easy, again and again. Mental toughness isn't a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a skill you build. And the only way to build it is to practice it, which means regularly, intentionally putting yourself in situations where you have to choose between comfort and growth, and choosing growth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Before I bring this to a close, I want to leave you with one more thing, and it might be the most important thing in this entire video. The version of you that exists 10 years from now is not a fantasy. It's not a wish. It's not a wish. It's not a wish. It is a mathematical certainty, built from the accumulated weight of every decision you're making right now. Today, this week, this month, this year. Every time you choose action, you're building that person. Every time you choose delay, you're building a different one. Every time you practice discipline, you're voting. Every time you give in to comfort without intention, you're voting for something else. There is no neutral. There is no standing still. Every single day, you are becoming someone. The only question is who. And here's what I know to be true, having watched people transform and having gone through my own process of change. The version of you that lives on the other side of consistent, disciplined, daily action is someone that you cannot even fully imagine right now, because you've never met them. They are calmer than you are today, more confident you are today, more confident, more capable, less rattled by the things that rattle you now. They've built a body of evidence, through years of keeping promises to themselves, that they are someone who can be trusted, someone who follows through, someone whose word, including the words they say to themselves, actually means something. That person is not far away. They are not reserved for people with better circumstances, more talent, or luckier breaks. They are available to you right now through the choices you make starting today. And all it takes, all it has ever taken, is the decision to begin. And then the decision to continue. And then the decision to continue again on the days when continuing is the last thing you want to do. That's the whole path. Begin. Continue. Continue again. The life you want is on the other side of that. It always has been. Now, before you close this video, I need you to do something for me. Not tomorrow. Right now, before the moment passes, hit the feeling fades. Hit that subscribe button. Because I put content like this out consistently. Content designed to push you, to challenge how you see yourself, to give you the kind of honest conversation that most people in your life aren't willing to have with you. I don't want you missing the next one. Drop a comment below. Tell me honestly, what is the one area of your life where you know you've been confusing motion with progress? Where you've been busy but not actually building anything? I read every comment. I reply to as many as I possibly can. And sometimes the most important thing isn't the video itself. It's the decision you make in the comment section to finally say out loud what you've been avoiding. Share this with someone who needs it. You know who I'm talking about. Person in your life who's talented, who has everything they need, but who keeps getting in their own way. Send it to them, not to call them out, to let them know that someone sees what they're capable of, even when they can't see it themselves. Like the video, if any part of this landed. It helps more people find this kind of content. And this kind of content is exactly what more people need. And finally, don't just watch this and feel good and go to bed. That's the trap. That's the thing that keeps people stuck. Consuming content about action without actually taking any. Do something tonight. One small thing, one decision, one first step toward the thing you've been postponing. Because the gap between the life you have and the life you want isn't closed by understanding. It isn't closed by motivation. It isn't closed by watching one more video or reading one more book. It is closed by action. Daily. Consistent. Ordinary. Unglamorous. Unstoppable action. The person you are meant to become is already waiting on the other side of that first step. Take it. Tonight.